At a distance, they looked to the patrons of the crowded Wall Street restaurant like simply another pair of stockbrokers taking their Friday afternoon martini and lunch. Eavesdrop for a second and listen to their conversation that Friday afternoon of just a few years ago. It was a Friday that saw the market rock to its foundations. The taller man leaned over his drink and addressed the younger man in tones that betrayed his great strain. Not since 29 has there been anything like it, and don't tell me that it's all just accidental. The younger man reddened as if the stock exchange were something close to his flesh and blood. Of course it's not an accident. It's the result of sloppy manipulation. The worst kind of fraud. It just finally blew the top off the whole thing. Nobody expected it. Certainly none of us wanted it. That's from The Structure of a Rumor in Mind Control, Oswald and JFK by Ken Thomas and Lincoln Lawrence. Again, a random snippet there from that book, which has great relevance to our time today. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. I want to talk about the sham GOP efforts in the new Congress, which is about to go into office. John Boehner, the ever-tan, supposed blue-collar guy who is just another rich fat cat getting his money from the same corporations and banks as everybody else in Congress, is insisting upon having a repeal vote against health care reform. I am a huge critic of the health care reform legislation which passed, and I do believe that it should be repealed in favor of a single-payer option that would remove entirely the private insurance industry from the handling of health care. But the sham in all of this is twofold. The GOP is attempting to repeal something that they openly and freely acknowledge they have no possibility of it succeeding, because the Senate probably won't even consider the measure, considering that it is still in the hands of the Demo-Publicans. So, it's a sham in that regard, and it's also a sham in another regard, which is this: that the health care reform legislation that was passed, which is a giant handout to private insurance companies, benefits the Republicrats, who are getting huge amounts of money in lobbying and other so-called gifts to congressmen, because they are getting bailed out by the American people under the new law. So, while Boehner and all of his other Republican stooges line up to repeal health care reform, they have no intention of reforming it, and they don't even have an alternative plan. And that proves to me that this is all just a show. People in America say they do not want this type of health care reform. The Republicans offer nothing as a replacement, and yet go forward with a sham repeal vote for a piece of legislation that is lining their pockets, knowing that it can never be passed. So, this is the theater of the absurd. And this is what you can expect from the GOP in the coming new Congress. And let's have a look at their, how shall we say it, their ridiculous cutting of expenses, which amounts to a pittance of money. If you want to talk about doing things that have a positive effect on the economy, such as, let me see, How about creating one job? Do you think you could do that? How about that? Instead of token cuts to your committees, whatever, budgets, assistants, and all that kind of stuff, which fine, that's all well and good. But how about one job? How about a bill right off the bat that would create one job, one new job, a single new job for a regular American worker? How about that for an agenda? Instead of this sham political ploy. Oh, we're doing what you want, American people, even though we know it's not going to pass, and we don't want it to pass anyway, because the private health insurance industry is lining our pockets big time, because they stand to gain immensely when the healthcare reform legislation goes into effect. My answer? Eliminate private health insurance companies completely by going with a single-payer system, something like Medicare for all. I have an answer. It will work. Medicare is an incredibly effective system. Get rid of the $500 billion cut, put everybody on it, and get rid of the private health insurance industry. You would eliminate massive amounts of spending by eliminating the private health care insurance industry. But this is something that the GOPers won't touch because, as I've said before, they're in bed with the private health insurance industry. Oh, and don't get me wrong, the Democrats are just as deeply embedded as they are. That's why there's no difference between these two parties. It is the single corporate party, and nowadays it's not even really two sides of the corporate party. They might as well both be the same corporate entity. I also wanted to take some time to announce the new year of my Blog Talk Radio show, also called The Stench of Truth. I'll have a show, my regularly scheduled show will be Fridays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio, The Stench of Truth. I may have a guest this Friday. I'm not sure about that yet, but I'm going to be announcing a new direction for the show this year, which I'm going to be branching off on my Blog Talk Radio show into more parapolitical topics, conspiracy, and the paranormal, while my YouTube channel will focus mainly on politics and the economy and all of the other things that most of my fans here on YouTube want to see. I will occasionally venture into those topics here on YouTube as well, and I may also occasionally venture into politics on the Blog Talk Radio show. But I plan on moving in that direction on Blog Talk Radio. So I hope you'll join me Fridays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio, The Stench of Truth. And this week, I may have a guest this week, but I also have a special show scheduled for Tuesday, January 11th from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time, where I'm going to be interviewing Adam Gorightly. And you can check him out. I'll put the links up in the show description. A writer and a student of the arcane, interested in a lot of the same topics that I am. He's been around the occult, esoteric arena for a long time, and I'm looking forward to interviewing him and talking to him about a number of different subjects. So definitely join us Tuesday, January 11th, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time for my interview with Adam Gorightly, where we'll talk about James Shelby Downard, maybe the Manson family, and some of the other interests that he's come across in his years of research and flitting about the esoteric scene. So those are the next 2 scheduled shows. But my regularly scheduled show on Blog Talk Radio will be Fridays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So I hope a lot of you will join me there and enjoy the new direction the show is going to take. So, thank you.